Welcome back, everyone. If you're looking to book more discovery calls and clients, then you're in the right place. Now, I recently made another video about how to name your overall program or offer, but this time we're focusing on how to name your tiers or the subdivisions within your main offer. Keep in mind that offering tiers gives your prospects the opportunity to choose the level of access and just overall value that you can offer to them that they are looking for. Now, one thing to keep in mind before we get started is that more time is not necessarily always better. So if you want to double your prices, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should double your program from 3 months to 6 months or from 5 months to 10 months or anything like that. Because what your prospects are looking for is ultimately the result or the outcome that you promised them. One other side note is that overall, when you're choosing to offer tiers of a certain offer, it's generally best to offer 3 tiers for many scientific reasons, which I won't get into here. But the point is that offering 3 options is the most easy to remember. And on top of that, it just gives people the simplest mental idea of which option they're looking for the value that they're looking to receive. Now, I know that most of the time I suggest offering one high ticket offer and that's that. But a few reasons why you might want to consider at least offering different tiers of that main offer are: number 1, to provide clarity on exactly what they are going to get. You can also expand on the benefits that they're going to get from that as well. You can expand on the branding of your overall business and offer. You can make your offers more catchy and memorable. And of course, you can generate more leads and sales. So let's go ahead and jump right in to the 10 ways to name your membership tiers. The first step to considering your tier name is to consider your deliverables. In other words, what they are actually getting. So this might mean courses or coaching or events or anything else like that. Now, keep in mind, what they are actually getting actually does play a big role in what you should name your offer or product or tiers. Now, what you're offering might be a community such as a mastermind, or it might be one-on-one coaching, or it might be a done for you course or something like that. The next step to naming your tiers is to flat out describe what you are offering. Now, this might mean how many months do you offer, how many weeks, how many leads, or just any other type of metric or otherwise number that you're offering or promising. Now, this number that you mentioned could literally go in any direction. Now, this can be frequency, such as how to get 10 leads per month, or it can include team size, such as how to get your small team to book more calls, or it can be duration, such as 6 months to blah, blah, blah. So you notice that there's a number, a hard number in every one of those titles. You can even include the type of access that they are getting to it, such as you can say print only, as opposed to print and digital. The next step to naming your tiers is actually to do the opposite of what I just said, which is to not use numbers. So the clearest example of this is to offer like a 4-level system that says freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. You notice how that doesn't exactly include a number, but it does include a level of commitment and action. You can also include this as a certain level of access or as a certain timeline, or there are actually a lot of different directions that you can go here, including the completion rate and just overall the degree that they are going for, such as you could call your intro product the kilo blah blah blah, and then you can call your top product the mega blah blah blah, which is a little bit more scientific, but you get the point here. The next way to name your tiers is to consider focusing on the person you're aiming at as opposed to the product. In other words, if you're aiming at the person that you're going for, then you can name your tiers apprentice, amateur, expert. Or if you're aiming at the person, you might say beginner, intermediate, expert, or just something like that. On the other hand, if you're pointing at the actual product or deliverable, then you can say bronze, silver, gold, or gold, platinum, diamond. or anything else like that. But notice that there is a pretty big difference there, that in one sense, you're aiming at the person, which is beginner, intermediate, expert. And on the other hand, you're aiming at the actual product or deliverable or service, which is bronze, silver, or gold. The next step to naming your tiers is to consider or at least balance the simplicity with the creativity. In other words, you want to make it extremely clear the different levels and the contrast of the tiers that you're offering. In other words, you can take a sports analogy and you can name your tiers rookie, intermediate, veteran. Or you could go the martial arts route and you can say, actually, I don't even remember, even though this was me once upon a time. You could say brown belt, blue belt, red belt, or something like that. You can actually even go the animal route where you can say turtle, dog, cheetah. The next step to naming your tiers is to offer leading tiers, which in other words, offer a certain level of status to each choice. In other words, you want to make the top choice the clear favorite and the bottom choice something generally to avoid. Now, one way to do this is to add status symbols to each level. So for example, you could say beginner, connoisseur, expert. That actually makes people feel like, oh, well, I'm a connoisseur, so I should, I'm sure as hell not a beginner, so I should definitely get the middle or higher level. The next step to naming your tiers is to consider naming them along your customer journey. Now, this is similar to something we've already discussed, but the point is that you do, or you at least should, consider naming it after their customer journey. So if you're going after marathon runners, you could say beginners, intermediate, experts, or you could say 2 hours, 1 hour, half hour, or anything like that. You could even peg it to commitment level. You could even say, just getting started, intermediate, I'm totally committed. The next way to name your program tiers is to consider the old school methods, which is flat out brainstorming and using a thesaurus. Now, this might actually be the most underrated, but actually the most valuable method, which pretty much means that, like always, you want to definitely consider contrast. So if you want to consider gold, platinum, diamond, or bronze, silver, gold. Those are kind of boring, let's be honest, those are kind of boring tiers. But if you look up all of those words on a thesaurus or something like that, then you can definitely get more interesting terms and words to identify your tiers by. The next idea to consider when it comes to naming your tiers actually has to do with what not to do. So the first idea is to absolutely not name it something super basic or general. In other words, basic, general, premium, starter, intermediate, expert. Yeah, I'm not saying these things can't work or don't work, but overall, they're very unmemorable and just overall boring. On top of that, you also want to avoid being unclear. So if you are helping people to run a faster marathon, then you don't want to offer people something that's extremely unclear, like beginner, intermediate, advanced. That doesn't really tell them what you're doing. You would be much better served by telling them a certain time or a certain amount of effort or something like that. And the absolute number one way to name your tiers is to hit the like button and subscribe below. If you learned something interesting today, it does help a lot. Well, that wraps us up for today. Thanks everyone for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one.